It's okay to be gay, the old white men of old never said. But you know who has the power to ignore the old white men of old? The kings and queens, that's right. It's amazing how many of these monarchs expressed their sexuality openly enough to be documented in history. Let's talk about some of them today. Meet Frederick II of Prussia, or as we know him today, Frederick the Great. He was a real cultured man, being into music and philosophy. Of course, he was cultured in other ways too, always sneaking away to secretly meet with his favorite courtiers, who were always male. He even discussed his homosexuality extensively with his favorite philosopher Voltaire. Just like the trope of the boss keeping around a hot secretary, Frederick, or Fritz, kept around a hot secretary of his own, Claude Etienne d'Arget, informing d'Arget in writings that his hemorrhoids affectionately grieved him. And the other nations around him knew not to send women after him. Rather, they stationed hot young guys around him to gain intelligence. However, older men were Frederick the Great's true target. His greatest love was with Hans Hermann von Katta, an officer of the Prussian army. It's a sad story too, kind of like a gay Romeo and Juliet. The two shared many interests and spent so much time together that it became suspicious. Of course, Frederick the Great had a disapproving father, Frederick William. He kept a close eye on Frederick the Great and disapproved of his artistic tastes. Too womanlike. What's a man if he can't command vast armies as a king? Fearing the wrath of his father, Frederick aimed to flee to England, thinking that he would find acceptance and freedom from his dad's watchful eye. Sadly, Frederick was caught, and Katta was revealed as an accomplice, and both were accused of treason. However, there's good news and bad news in this. What would you like to hear first? Good news? Alright. Frederick the Great lives. One small catch, he has to watch his lover Katta get beheaded as he sits in a jail cell. I told you the story was sad. Hey, look on the bright side. Maybe spite from this failed relationship drove him to the achievements that would earn him the title of the Great. Let's not forget about the lesbians. Back in her day, Queen Christina of Sweden was well known across the continent for her love of women. She was also a bit of a tomboy, always dressing in men's clothing and participating in activities like hunting. Ooh, scandalous. In fact, a priest once remarked that there was nothing feminine about her except her sex. But enough about her, let's talk about her lover, Ebba Spar. She was one of Christina's ladies-in-waiting, giving her free access to Christina's bedroom. Suspicious enough already? What about the fact that she introduced Spar as her bedfellow? Sadly, Christina's physical closeness with Ebba Spar ended when she abdicated the throne, possibly because she didn't want to marry a man. She did keep up passionate love letters with Spar though, so there's that. We move on now to the British Isles, where there were enough gay rulers to fill an entire nightclub. When you were a kid, did you ever want a secret passage to your best friend's house? I didn't, but maybe that's something that other kids want. Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you're rich enough, you can have anything you want, including a secret passage. That's exactly what James I did with his perhaps lover George Villiers. Just a couple of decades ago, restoration efforts at Apethorpe Palace revealed a tunnel connecting the bedrooms of James and Villiers. More evidence for the romance can be found in the love letters they sent to each other, and boy were they steamy. Oftentimes, Villiers would address James as dad, and James would reciprocate by calling him son. In one letter, James even sought Villiers' hand in marriage. At this point, it was pretty obvious what relationship the two had with each other, with one contemporary poet even commenting, and it is well known that the King of England boinks the Duke of Buckingham. Of course, James tried to defend his love by comparing it to Jesus' love of John, but good luck pulling that off when your love letters are so sinful. Villiers wasn't James's first male lover either. For that, we'd have to look all the way back to his teenage years, when James engaged in a romance with Esme Stuart, 1st Duke of Lennox, who, by the way, was 24 years older than him. Clearly, James really liked the way the French did it because he was all over Stuart. However, the other nobles wanted to put a stop to what they saw was Catholic meddling with the Protestant James I. To force James to give up his relationship with Stuart, the other nobles kidnapped him to Ruthven Castle for 10 months until he finally agreed. Of course, James was devastated by this separation, composing an entire poem mourning their relationship. Look on the bright side, James. There are plenty more fish in the sea. You thought we were done? Nope. There are still so many other documented lovers that I could mention with James I, but we've got to move on to yet another English king, Edward II. He spent way too much time with his court favorite Piers Galveston. And honestly, I wouldn't blame him. I mean, look at that jawline. It's freaking exquisite. The two were introduced as children, as Edward II's father, Edward I, wanted a role model for his son. As the years went by, the pair spent way too much time together for other nobles to stomach it. The English court made Edward send him away multiple times, with smaller and smaller applause each time Galveston returned. On his last journey home, instead of a cold welcome, he instead faced two burly Welshmen who took him to the side of the road and decapitated him. Oh yeah, they also stabbed him first. Didn't know they did seppuku in the West. Anyways, this gay saga must have scarred the ancient English horribly, as this homosexual history continued to be told over the years, ending up with a fictionalization in celebrated playwright Christopher Marlowe's play Edward II. If I were to have a nickel for every old European ruler who turned out to be gay, I'd have, Way more than 5 nickels to be honest. There are a lot of them, and these are just some of the most prominent examples. Hope you guys have fun on your own journeys of sexual discovery, and happy Pride Month if that's when you're watching this video. See you all next time, whenever that is.